Hello. In this lesson, I want you to solve systems by substitution, and I want you to solve real-world problems involving systems equations by using substitution. Some vocabulary word, substitution. When you substitute, you're going to replace something with something else. We're going to follow 3 steps when we solve problems by substitutions. We're going to get one variable by itself. Sometimes you'll already have it by itself, but if you don't have it by itself, you have to get it by itself. You're going to substitute that into the opposite equation. That's important. Always substitute into the opposite equation. And then we're going to solve that system and then solve both variables and write our answer as an ordered pair if we're using x and y. So let's take a look at example 1. On example 1, notice y is by itself. We don't have to do any solving. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this value of y and we're going to replace it into the second equation. So instead of writing y, we are going to write negative 4x plus 12. So I'm going to say 2x, make that a little bit thinner for us, plus negative 4x plus 12. Now I put these parentheses in here just because I want you to use parentheses when you substitute. But notice they have no meaning. We don't have to do any distributing or anything like that. So I'm just going to rewrite that as 2x minus 4x plus 12 equals 2. Now let's solve for x. 2x minus 4x is negative 2x plus 12 equals 2. Well, let's subtract 12 from both sides because we're solving for x. So then we get negative 2x equals negative 10. Well, we'll divide both sides by negative 2. And x equals 5. Now, how do we find y? Well, we're going to go back. Remember, we got y's by itself. We already know that y equals negative 4x plus 12. So now, instead of writing x, we're going to substitute 5 in for x. So we get negative 20 plus 12, which is negative 8. So then our answer is 5 and negative 8. There's your answer. Now we could substitute that back into like the second equation to make sure it's true. Is 2 times 5, that's 10, plus negative 8, that gives me 2, so it checks. Let's take a look at example 2. Now, unlike example 1, we don't have a variable solve for itself. It doesn't matter which variable you solve for. It's just you're going to make life harder for yourself if you pick one that's hard to do. What I mean by that one, that gives you a fraction or a decimal for an answer. So if you can, pick the variable that has a coefficient of 1 or negative 1 if you can. If you can't, then you're kind of stuck. So we're going to take this first equation, and I'm going to get x by itself. Well, to get x by itself, we add 2y. Notice there's no y on the right-hand side, so I'm just going to write it to the side. So x equals negative 3 plus 2y. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute that for x in the opposite equation. If you substitute it for x in the first equation, everything's going to cancel. So that's not going to help you out very much. So my second equation, I'm going to change pen colors here just so you can see the difference. 3. Instead of writing x, I'm going to write negative 3 plus 2y. Do you see why? Now this one I need parentheses because I'm going to distribute that 3. Write down the rest of the equation. Plus 5y equals 24. We're going to solve for y. So distribute. So we get negative 9 plus 6y plus 5y equals 24. Simplify. So we get negative 9 plus 11y equals 24. So we're going to add 9 to both sides. So then we get 11y equals 33. Divide both sides by 11. Y equals 3. Now we know y. Let's just use that to solve for x. So I'm going to go back up here. And instead of writing y, I'm going to say negative 3 plus 2 times 3. Well, that's negative 3 plus 6, which is 3. So x equals 3, y equals 3, so I'll write that as an ordered pair. If we take a look at example 3 now, and once again, I could solve for x, or I could solve for y in the first equation, but I think I'm going to solve for x in the second equation, just because the coefficient of x is 1. I could solve for y in the second equation too. Both of them are correct. So we're going to minus y from both sides. So then we get x equals negative 2 minus y. I'm going to replace x in the first equation with negative 2 minus y. So you get 2 times negative 2 minus y plus 2y equals 8. Well, let's distribute that. And negative 4 minus 2y plus 2y equals 8. Well, notice your y's cancel, don't they? Negative 2y plus 2y is 0. So we get negative 4 equals 8. Does negative 4 equal 8? No, it doesn't. So there's no solution. If we relate this to our graphing, this would be parallel lines. They're never going to intersect. If we would end up with 8 equals 8, then that would have been infinite solutions. So you'll get no solutions, infinite solution, or a single solution, just like we did with graphing.